afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. I'm Maya Metzel here with Jim Mann, our host of the I Am Healing Strong podcast. And Allie could not join us today. She also joins him on some of the interviews and has also interviewed herself some of our past seasons. But she is a busy person. So we have Jim Mann here today.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jim, for joining us.
I'm sitting around.
Yeah, we are doing Testimony Tuesdays, either with a member within Healing Strong, like a group member, somebody who supports our organization, or with Jim himself, who does these interviews that you can hear in our podcasts. So yesterday we had a new episode drop, and it was with Keith and Judy Hook. So I want to just be able to have you all hear from Jim about the interview itself, and maybe something, because he does his own little magic, right, in editing these too. So there might be some stuff that maybe stood out to him that didn't make the cut, or something that he did enjoy that is in the episode that will just kind of inspire you or prayerfully encourage you to just go have a listen, because there's a focus we're focusing on this year for season 3, which are those connected to Healing Strong. And that is because we are celebrating our 10-year anniversary. So this year is a big deal. So these interviews are very special. So Jim,
Yes.
how was it interviewing the Hooks?
They were delightful. They are very giddy, very childlike, not in an immature way, but in a good kind of childlike. They seem to enjoy working together. And they have quite the track record, the history being in ministry. I mean, he was a pastor, and then they are in China and homeschooled their 3 daughters in China. It's kind of an exciting life.
Yeah, they seem like they had a lot going on when I listened to it. I didn't realize all of that background information.
Yeah, and now they're in the little town, or actually just outside of Seattle. Lovely part of the country, closer to you, Maya, than it is to me. But and it still amazes. This makes you sound like an old person, but it still amazes me that I'm sitting in South Carolina just chatting with them in Seattle like they're just next door. I love that.
Beauty. One of the beauties of the internet. We know it's got a lot of negatives, and the enemy can use it for his ways, but this is one of the things that is a blessing. Someone like you can talk to these people and inspire and encourage, and let the Lord plant those seeds. So I have some things that stood out to me, but what is something that kind of stuck with you after the interview?
I thought it was hilarious that she reached out to Healing Strong and got the secretary, sweet little secretary.
Yeah.
It ended up being Susie, the founder of it, but that speaks to Susie on how sweet and humble she is, that you would think, well, she's the secretary. Everybody's above whatever position she's at, but that speaks volumes.
Yeah.
That, and she just fired the secretary, I think. No, just kidding.
Yeah, no, I thought that was endearing too. It was cute.
Yeah, I like the fact that they love working together, which is great. And they were doing it in their home, and then the COVID thing hit, and they went to Zoom, and they actually enjoy the Zoom, mostly because it doesn't limit the borders of who they can talk to. So they reach globally. I mean, they have people in other countries, and they do like the one-on-one stuff also, and they invite people to come by the house anytime and talk to them. But they're on the phone a lot. They like work it. Man, it's almost like an Amway meeting. They're working the phones and talking to people, except for it's not about them. It's about, and I'm not bashing Amway, but I mean, it's about reaching out to people and helping them and giving them a positive twist. Because one thing I like that Judy learned when she first was diagnosed, and that's always the worst when you first get it, because there's a little part you have to go through of, oh man, I can't dodge it anymore. It got me, kind of mentality. And she the doctor, they found the naturopathic doctor just down the hill from them, which was pretty convenient. And the fact that he told her to just start laughing more,
Hmm.
which, I think she was more a serious person at the time, especially when you get diagnosed with cancer. It's very easy to be serious. I was serious for like 6, 7 minutes.
Yeah, that's a long time.
Yeah, I was lost there. I didn't know what to do. But but he told her she needs to laugh, and she's obviously likes to laugh now. But the fact that later on down the road, when Keith was diagnosed, and they were excited about it, like, yes, I got it too. Like, okay,
It
I thought, yeah,
it made me laugh and laugh so hard because that part of it you can hear just who they are and the lightheartedness and just the relationship they have. And so it's hard to think of her as serious because you just hear who she is in the interview. And so when that part got brought up, I just laughed because they took it immediately as a blessing. Like, I've been praying for somebody and now you can join the club.
yes. I think he felt left out for a while. So there he was, her support, and unfortunately, it was stage 1, and they caught it early. So I mean, he didn't have to go through a lot of the terrible stuff. Because nobody wants that. Oh, pull my glasses off. And but yeah, that I just love the way they interact with each other and their attitude, how they're excited about helping, and how they've throughout the years for like 30 years they've had international students coming
Mhm.
in and out of their house. I always admire people that do that because that interrupts their life. I
Yeah.
mean, they kind of like put aside their privacy to help strangers, and that speaks volumes about them, I think.
Yeah. And when I was younger, my parents did that with a couple international students. And so I've had a little bit experience having others in the home with us. And it was cool because I mean they brought treats and like cultural foods from where they were from and shared them with us, and they were very sweet. And so when I heard that they've been doing that for so long, 30 years they said, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a long commitment. And so something else, I would say the humor part, the laughing stuck out to me because that's something we don't all do very often. We're not as lighthearted as we could be about things. We don't have that joy in our spirit as much. And so that's a beautiful reminder. And then
Mm.
them knowing what each of their roles are kind of stuck out to me too, because sometimes we get in a yes mode and so many of us just want to help and we do things that maybe aren't in our strengths. And so they each know where their strengths are and how they run their group and who's in charge of what. So like you said, they're on the phone a lot. That's really Judy because she loves talking to people. This is why you're doing the podcast, right? You love talking to people. You love being on
Yeah, something like that. But yeah, and it was funny because I mean, I had somebody I worked with at the radio station in Greenville. They're now in their area, so they knew who she was, and that was kind of exciting. I said, "Yeah, that's Erica. I used to work with her. She's a wonderful person, and
Oh,
it's
cool.
good to meet some of her audience." So that was kind of nice.
Oh, nice.
And
All
I
right.
told her about that. She got all excited. She goes, "Oh, great." That's
Well,
me
yeah,
typing.
because they did mention they traveled to that Atlanta area too, and
Yeah.
just how the connection of meeting Susie. There's a lot of you can see just how the Lord orchestrated so much of their story. So it was a great interview. Loved hearing from the both of them and just how the two of them communicate with one another and having someone else to talk to. So if you haven't listened to it yet, go to the link in our bio or go to the link in our post if you're on Facebook. We've got our podcast link there, and it's the one on the top because it just runs down with each recent one. And
Sure.
Judy was diagnosed with breast cancer, and
Mhm.
Keith had lymphoma. And without giving away too much, they are group leaders and they are thrivers, but they go into more details of their story in the interview. So thank you to Mr. Jim for spending the time and interviewing these people and highlighting their stories.
Sure, it's a rough job, but I sacrifice and I do it.
Yeah, well, we appreciate all that selflessness and sacrifice.
Yeah, they give me candy. Just kidding.
Yeah. Hey, no, no, no. We'll give you kale. That's what we give you.
All right. You'd be perfect.
Yeah. All right. Thank you for spending a few minutes and just kind of giving your perspective and take and the highlights for yourself too. Because when you're doing these interviews, you're just there listening and then just kind of asking a few questions. So it's always nice to hear from you kind of what stood out to you. So
Sure.
we
Yeah.
appreciate it.
It all does run together for me when week after week, I remember something. I thought, well, wait a minute, was that the other person? So it's, there's so many of them now, but I,
I can get that. Even just learning about all this stuff, right, within the
yeah,
natural world, it sometimes can get jumbled and stored away in a very far corner, and you're like, I think I learned about that at some point.
yes.
So I get that. But thank you, and I hope
Sure.
you have a wonderful day.
All right. You too.
Thank you, and everyone can go to healingstrong.org/podcast as well. You can find our podcast there. So, bye, everybody.